Ben Shapiro doesn't like the new Superman movie because he's an upper-class elitist whose job is to literally spread misinformation and propaganda. I'm gonna break it down. I know I am not the first person to talk about Ben Shapiro's god-awful take of the new Superman movie, but I'm here to add my 2 cents. And this particular topic is a Venn diagram of two things I like to talk about: Superman and debunking misinformation. And if I have a voice, I'm going to use it. He says the film is not political. Anyone with 2 eyes can tell that this is a political movie with a clear political message, whether it was authorial intent or not. And that's the clear support for Palestine against Israel's genocide of the Palestinians and Gaza. But you'll notice, Ben doesn't hang on that topic for a long time. But you'll notice that Ben doesn't spend a lot of time talking about the politics of the film. In only a few moments, he brushes those claims off, as if it's nothing to focus on. And that's because Ben is an unapologetic Zionist. He's had a long history of using his Jewish faith to hide behind criticisms of him being a Zionist. But let's be clear, everyone, criticizing Zionism is not anti-Semitic. Now, whether he's getting paid by Israel, which we don't know, let's be honest, or that he's a true believer because he's sipped the Kool-Aid, either way, it's pretty clear he doesn't want to talk about the clear politics of the film because he knows that the politics of the film make his position look reprehensible. But let's continue. He has some complaints about the music. Yeah, if you know anything about Ben Shapiro, he's also a musical elitist. You can look back to all his criticisms of rap, heavy metal, anything that's not the which is not the clear classical musician, where he believes that only the classical music is the real music. Look back to his criticisms of Lizzo when she used that famous flute from one of our founding fathers. Yeah, he doesn't like the music because he doesn't think it's real music or good music, which only makes the film more punk rock. Complains about Ma and Pa Kent. Yeah, let's talk about that. He has this really weird bit about complaining about Ma and Pa Kent, calling them stupid and ugly. Then in previous films, Ma and Pa Kent were noble. And I think there's one reason why he did that. Or I should say, but I think there's 2 reasons why he did that. One, in every other previous Superman iteration, it's pretty clear that Ma and Pa Kent are kind of well off to do. They have a very nice house, they own private property, they own private land, and they're clearly intelligent. In this film, it's pretty clear they're not upper class. They're probably middle to lower class, and they're not the most educated people, as portrayed in the film when they're having a difficult time trying to communicate with their son over the phone. That was intentional, ladies and gentlemen. Them being portrayed like that was intentional. Because guess what? Out in the middle of central and rural America, that's the people who live in America. That's a large majority of Americans right there. And there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing wrong with that is that they should be more educated and they should have better access to living. But not to Ben. Ben has a long history for his contempt for poor people. A long history. He believes if you're poor, that's a moral failing of yours, and you can look up anything he has to say about that. So to see Ma Pa Kent in a lower class, less educated portrayal, he has this inherent disdain for that. And he doesn't like that. Because Superman is supposed to be the best of America. What he thinks Superman is someone who has the right to truth, justice, and private property. Let's not skip over that little line of his. The American way is owning private property. Those are his words. And he kind of let the game slip there a little bit. Because remember, he doesn't like Superman because Superman helps people. He likes Superman because of his power. And that's why he's complaining about this Superman movie. Because this Superman movie, he's doing it out of empathy. He's coming from a low place, a low income place, who's not gutter trash, good people, who are proven to be good people despite of their socioeconomic status. And he helps people for free. And Ben doesn't like that. Why? Remember, he's an upper class elitist. running misinformation for billionaires and corporations. That's why, and we can go further. Oh, let's talk about his complaints of Crypto. Crypto is an unruly dog. It's a bad dog, bad misbehaving dog. Well, yeah, he's a dog. But why does Ben harps on this really badly? Why? Why does he harp on this really badly? Because like all conservatives, Ben doesn't like things he can't control or are uncontrollable. That is a very, very conservative thing of him to do. It goes against the grain of this worldview he has, that a good dog is something that listens, that the only good things are the things that you can control or he can control. And that kind of ties all the other complaints together, is that these are uncontrollable things that Superman just lets go, because Superman's not here to control anything in this film. He's here to help. Ben doesn't like that. Kind of like how he doesn't like Supergirl in this movie. Why doesn't he like Supergirl in this movie? Because she drinks. She has a potty mouth. She doesn't act like a conservative woman, or she doesn't act like how a woman should act, according to him. He is completely out of touch with the original comics and does not understand why Supergirl would be acting like this. If you look at the comic Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, you'll understand why Supergirl is going through that. It's trauma. She's experiencing trauma and she's drowning herself in alcohol. That's why. But again, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Ben Shapiro doesn't believe in that, because that requires empathy, which he's never had. And to tie it all together, lest I remind you, he doesn't believe in empathy because this was his very own words a decade ago. And he only half apologized about it when he was called out on it on national television. Half apology, by the way. Remember this? I'm not. I'm never gonna forget this. Because this is the real Ben Shapiro. This is what he really believes. That's why he doesn't like this Superman. This Superman's weak and gets his butt kicked because Superman's not supposed to get his butt kicked. We're the strongest. We're the best. Superman's supposed to represent that, and he gets his butt kicked? Why? Because it goes against every conservative value to admit vulnerability. You cannot admit loss if you're a conservative. You cannot show weakness if you're a conservative or a Republican. You cannot admit you're wrong if you're Ben Shapiro. The Superman movie is the complete antithesis to everything Ben Shapiro stands for. That's why he doesn't like the movie. And that's why I'm encouraging all of you, anyone who sees this, go see the movie. Show its support. It's actually doing some real world good. Don't fall for the misinformation. Don't fall for Ben Shapiro's. Don't fall for the disinformation that Ben Shapiro spreads. Be kind to each other. Stand up for the little guy. That's what Superman would do. Because that's what Superman would do.